Today we're going to be learning about writing equations in the point-slope formula. So in 8th grade you really worked on slope-intercept form. That was the y equals mx plus b. And we use that form when we have a slope and we have an intercept. And then last couple of classes we talked about the standard form of an equation where our x variable and y variable were on the left and our constant or our number was on the right. In this format it's very quick to plug in a 0 for the y to find the x-intercept and to plug in a 0 for the x to find the y-intercept. And this is also the most common form that you'll find word problems normally end up being written in this format. Well, today we're going to look at the point-slope formula. Use this formula when you're given a point and you're given the slope of a line. So all three of these lines can represent the exact same, or all three of these formulas can represent the exact same line, the exact same information, just depending on what you need to do with it is what format you'll put it in, but they're all equivalent. Okay, so writing our point-slope form, we just need to take a moment to understand what the formula really means. So when we're looking at this formula, we have three pieces of data that we can get from it. We can get our point, which is the x1 comma y1 value, and we can get our slope. So we can get our x and our y value from a data point, and we can get our slope from the equation. The biggest thing to remember on this is just that it's a minus sign. So we're subtracting our x and we're subtracting our y. So when we're using our point-slope formula, we use it when they tell us what the point is and what the slope is, and we just plug them in for the x value of the point, the y value of the point, and the slope. So let's just start by looking at number 1. At number 1, they gave us our equation in point-slope formula. The slope is always the easiest because it's the number on the outside of the parenthesis, so we can identify our slope as -3. And then the point is going to be the ordered pair. The x term will always be with the x inside the parentheses, and the y term will be over here with the y. So let's start with the x term. We also know that it has to be, we're subtracting it. So as long as we have a minus sign here, everything is okay. So our x term is a 2. And our y term, if you notice, we're not subtracting, we're adding. So it's going to need to be the opposite of that. So it's going to be -2. So our point is 2 comma -2, and our slope is -3. Okay, so take a moment. I want you to find the information on number 2 on your own. Work through it, pause your video, do the work, and then check back for the explanation. Okay, and the biggest thing to keep in mind when you're working on this one is the minus sign. It's always y minus the y value and x minus the x value. So if you don't have a minus sign, you'll be taking the opposite. That's the biggest trick in it. So now let's work backwards. When we're given a slope and given a point, and write our equation. So the first thing they've done is they've given us the information. So it's told us our slope is -2, so we're going to plug in -2 in the part of our equation, which is right here on the outside of our parentheses. And now we have our point. So let's just go ahead and remind ourselves that this is the x1 and the y1. And so we put our y value with the y and our x value with the x. So let's start with the x. X minus 3. And for our y, it's y minus, we're going to have to put it in parentheses, -1. So we've got a minus negative. So y minus negative turns into a y plus 1 equals -2 times x minus 3. So just notice for a moment when you're looking at this, in our final equation, we don't have a minus here with the y. We have a +1, meaning our original data point was actually a negative. So that's how that works. So I want you to take a moment and do number 4 on your own, pause the video, and then start it back up for the explanation. So notice on this one that the way I wrote the final answer, since our y data point was a 0, y minus 0 is the same as y.